On October 29, 2012, Hurricane Sandy made landfall in the New York City area. The storm surge flooded streets, homes, and subway lines and caused an estimated $70 billion worth of damage in the United States. While the storm's impact on New York City and coastal New Jersey received a lot of national media attention, the effect that Hurricane Sandy had on Long Island was not covered as extensively. Nevertheless, many towns on Long Island, particularly on the southern shore, were devastated. Now, more than 3 years later, the aftermath of the storm has left many problems and many questions in its wake. Is Long Island in danger from rising sea levels due to climate change? How will this affect the local residents? Is there anything that people can do to protect their families and property from the next future storm? And how ready is Long Island, really, if the next major storm hits?
Long Island is vast and covers 2 counties, Nassau and Suffolk. With the rising sea levels becoming a problem due to climate change, it can lead to various impacts on the population's health. Hurricane Sandy was an example of rising sea levels, and this particular event affected the certain communities more than others due to the vulnerability of the population living along Long Island's South Shore. Not only is the South Shore geographically vulnerable to disasters, which are made worse due to the climate change, it also has the areas of low socioeconomic population living in the areas, making them one of the most vulnerable populations and thus being at the most risk for health problems caused by disasters such as Sandy. Sandy caused many health impacts due to water and air pollution, but the worst was the mold. It can affect children, seniors, and those with respiratory problems. Mold is also not an easy fix. Sheetrock has to be torn down and put up again, making it a long and possibly expensive process. 4 years later, and there are still many communities recovering, such as Long Beach. Long Beach has actually lost their hospital and actually still remains closed today. Although an urgent care center was opened in 2014, the people of the community still see that as a temporary fix, making it more difficult to combat health care problems. The leaders of Long Island need to help those that were affected and take more permanent measures to ensure that future storms affect the population the most minimal way possible.
Fire Island is a large barrier island that stretches about 31 miles long and is located parallel to the south shore of Long Island, New York. It and its nearly 300 residents were hit hard by Hurricane Sandy, which actually split the island into 2 islands. On its bay shoreline, a salt marsh helps protect Fire Island from storm surge. However, due to recent sea level rises, researchers are concerned as to what will happen to these marshes. As the seas begin to overtake these marshes, will they change from vegetated meadows to mud flats and open water? Or will they also begin to retreat, impacting the ecosystems found at higher elevations? What happens when the marshes and the beaches that are receding meet the human population that is advancing closer and closer to the shoreline? These are questions that not only do policymakers and researchers need to answer, but need to answer soon. As Hurricane Sandy showed us, water will devour anything in its path and is much better that surging water tangle with beaches and marshes rather than houses and people. And what happens on Fire Island is the first step to what will happen to the surrounding area.
In 1983, New York State regulators evaluated an evacuation plan for Long Island's 7.8 million residents in response to concerns over a possible meltdown at a nuclear power plant in the town of Shoreham. They concluded that there would be no way to effectively evacuate the 7.8 million residents of the island due to the fact that residents in Nassau and Suffolk counties would have to travel over 60 miles to reach the nearest bridges or tunnels to the mainland. The problem is compounded by the fact that Long Island has only 3 major east-west thoroughfares: the Long Island Expressway running through the center of the island, and the Northern State and Southern State Parkways running parallel to the north and south of the expressway respectively. Even after Hurricane Sandy, no formal policies on how to overcome the logistical problem of moving all the residents of Long Island in a relatively quick and orderly fashion have been outlined or proposed. The fact is that the entirety of Long Island represents a vulnerable community that will be increasingly subject to flooding risks as sea levels rise due to climate change.